Speak on the Show 2022, episode 17, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. It's your boy, R.W. Coolings. Good morning, y'all. Y'all ready? Let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Speak On It. I am your boy, R.W. Coolings. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's so good to wake up on this side of the living this morning. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're here with Speak On It. We're broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook first thing this morning. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And after the show, you can download on Spreaker.com or Apple iTunes to hear the audio. That's what you choose to do. So that's what we do here on the Speak On It show. Let's get these formalities out the way going forward. Michelle Jones, Lady Michelle, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate the support. rwcoolings.com. That's the website. You can go there. RW Coolings over all social media platforms. If you're looking for it, the show on audio on Apple iTunes, search Speak On It show. It'll pop up. That's the only one that's different. Everything else, rwcoolings.com is the website. RW Coolings off over all social media platforms. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. All we ask is say what you mean what you say. We come in as friends, we leave as family. That's what we do here. No comment is wrong. No, hey, I can take it. Give it to me straight. I can take it. You don't always have to agree with me. But what we do here on the Speak On the Show is I want to give you something from what I've understood and what I've read from what's going on in the world and give you a better understanding from my point of view, not to change your mind, but to make you look at it a little bit differently. That's all we do here on the Speak On the Show. Coming up on 10 years in the business. Come September, we got our anniversary coming up. So we'll be putting an announcement out on that or what we're going to do for the anniversary show in September. Keep an eye out for that. Eric Zupons, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate the support. Ryan Hoodie, good morning, bro. Appreciate the support. So there's a lot going on in the world, y'all. A whole lot going on in the world. Still got the war in Ukraine. We still got, the Congress and the Senate and everybody fighting over gun legislation and all this kind of stuff. I seen on the news yesterday or late yesterday that the young man, Mr. Lyoya, up in I can't remember exactly where it was at, but the officer was charged with second-degree murder, which I think y'all remember me talking about that, where he shot him in the back of the head when he was on top of him. So things are going, moving here and there. A lot of things we're not paying attention to. Some things we are, some things we aren't. But one of the biggest things we're going to get into later on is what I talked about last week as far as everyone sitting down and paying attention and watching the January 6th committee on the insurrection. But we're going to get into that. But let's go ahead and get into some of this other stuff that just jumped out at me this week. Special Olympics. Everybody knows what Special Olympics are. Special Olympics. No harm, no foul. It's just some kids that are, physically and maybe mentally, disadvantaged. They have some issues going on when they're physically disabled. Everyone knows what Special Olympics are all about. And this is a time for them to go out and show their prowess, show how they can play basketball, run, do the track meets and everything. I was a volunteer at one time. Matter of fact, I throw it out there. I was the president representative for one of the Air Force bases one year when I did it. Very, very encouraging to go out there and be a participant in the Special Olympics. If you ever get a chance to be a helper, go out and participate in it. I suggest you do it. It will make you look at things in a different light as far as where you are in life. Not to say, you're looking at those kids like something's wrong with them or anything like that, but it gives you a different meaning and understanding of how good you may have it or how your life has been blessed. Not that they're not blessed. I don't want to say it in that manner, but you get the point I'm saying. But to see the joy in the kids' faces and everything when they win, whether they win, lose, or draw, or anything like that, just to be able to participate means something. But this week, the Special Olympics was being held down in Florida. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, he threatened to fine the Special Olympics International $27.5 million for requiring the 5,500 participants of the USA Games in Orlando to be vaccinated against COVID, prompting the organization to drop the mandate. So the mandate that the organization came out with, that all participants of the Special Olympics had to be vaccinated. Ron DeSantis came out and said, oh no, if you do that, and if you keep it in place, we're going to fine you $27.5 million. So the Special Olympics International said, we don't want that fine and everything. We're going to go ahead and we're going to eliminate the mandatory vaccine that we have in place. And this is what Ron DeSantis said. There needs to be a choice in this regard. He said at an event in Orlando surrounded by a cheering crowd that included athletes for the game set to begin on Sunday. And it says in here, because the organization wanted to help protect athletes with intellectual disabilities, that's the word I was looking for, from a dangerous contagion during a pandemic. That's what the Special Olympics organization wanted to do by having everyone vaccinated. Because, it's still out there. I've still heard people getting COVID and everything. But here's the part that I think a lot of people don't get when we talk about COVID and catching COVID and understanding what COVID is, because we heard about all the deaths that went along with COVID, but there's never been pinpointed down to exactly who, what, when, where, why is the most affected. They threw out the African-American population and all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing. A study last year that surveyed almost 65 million patients across 547 healthcare organizations revealed that having an intellectual disability was the strongest independent risk factor for presenting with a COVID-19 diagnosis, and the strongest independent risk factor other than age for COVID-19 mortality. Another study in the United Kingdom found that if infected, people with Down syndrome are 5 times more likely to be hospitalized and 10 times more likely to die of COVID-19 than the general population. So the Special Olympics International Organization was trying to take care of those with the intellectual disabilities that are participating in the Special Olympics in Florida. And Ron DeSantis and his people said that they shouldn't have this mandate. And if they continue to have that mandate, they were going to fine them $27.5 million. So there is no concern for the health or the risk for these people with intellectual disabilities. There's only the fact that they want to keep pushing this mandate or lack of a mandate for people to be vaccinated, because COVID per se is not real. It's not that bad. But by the statistics saying that 65 million patients across 547 health organizations revealed that having an intellectual disability causes you and puts you in more harm's way than anybody else. But you want to fine them $27.5 million if they didn't drop it. Now, Special Olympics dropped it. I get it. I get it. Because they don't want to pay the $27.5 million. But come on now. Come on. So you're putting these people's health at risk just to make a statement. Special Olympics, y'all. Nobody is safe from the per se wrath of what the Democratic Party or Democratic governors or whatever they want to be called are trying to push in order for them to get elected into these positions and things like that. Now, everybody may not agree with the vaccination. I'm cool with that. But if you have these people with intellectual disabilities, knowing what the risks are, and you want to put a political aspect into it and saying you're going to find $27.5 million if they don't get rid of the mandate, just so these kids, people with intellectual disabilities can participate in the Special Olympics that they probably look forward to every year. Come on. We got to do better. But it just shows you it's not about everyone. It's about what their agenda is. Gary Burns, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate the support. Maurice Wigfall, Big Mo. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Long time no here. Yeah, we need to get down and talk, man. We need to get down and talk. Special Olympics. Also with the Special Olympics, watch this now. You ain't really heard too much about this. 6 members of the Haitian Special Olympics contingent who were visiting the U.S. to participate in the soccer competition during the Special Olympics are missing. Antoine Mython, Nicholas Fontillis, Peter Burles, Anderson Petit Frere, Stevenson Jacquet, and Oriel Jean went missing in Kissimmee, Florida, south of Orlando. They were here for the Special Olympics to participate in soccer or whatever is going on. And they done broke camp. So they say. TC, what's up, my brother? Appreciate the support. Appreciate the support. They done broke camp for what they say. But it says the individuals are adults, 5 of whom are not Special Olympic athletes, and 1 who is an adult with intellectual disability. The organization stated, the well-being of these delegates is our foremost concern. Local authorities have indicated they have no reason to believe the health and safety of any of the individuals is at risk. To expand the reach and effectiveness, of law enforcement's efforts to locate these individuals, they have been reported as missing persons. The group was participating in a soccer competition as part of the 2020 Special Olympics USA Games in Orlando, which are scheduled to take place from 12 June to 19 June. The missing members were last seen on Monday around 2:30 p.m. Officers said foul play is not expected, but the reason they left the games is unknown. And they said the 6 people missing, who are between 18 and 32, disappeared after turning in their room keys and leaving behind their personal bags and belongings. The Special Olympics said in a statement to CNN. Now, they're from Haiti. Remember they was turning all them people away from the border from Haiti at one time? I'm not saying it's right, but these 6 individuals decided, you know what? We know we got a Special Olympics team going over there. Let's go on over with them and just get ghost. Not saying it's right, but here's what you got to remember. And this is standing out because they were here with the Special Olympics contingent. See, the main focus is always on the southern border. And I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face. The main focus is always on the southern border. And they always concentrate, they never really want to concentrate on the people that come on over here on work visas and everything from all these other different countries, rather than coming across through the border, southern border, coming across Canada, coming across, flying into New York, flying into the East Coast, flying into California on the West Coast, or anywhere they're flying into. And they have all the paperwork and everything like that. But once they're here, they overstay their welcome as far as what their visa says and so on and so forth. But you never hear that come up in the equation when they talk about illegal immigration. They only want to concentrate on the southern border. Why is that? Why is that? I don't know. But there's a method to the madness. James Battle, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate support. But that's the main focus, is always the southern border. And now you got 6 individuals from Haiti that decided to, they call it defect. They got them down as missing persons, but when they do that kind of thing, is only they're defecting. They're defecting from their country into the United States of America. But what really jumps out at me also is that this has made headline news. Is it because of the Special Olympics? Is it because they're from Haiti? What is it? Why is this headline news? Because we have people, as I say, I've never seen the numbers that shows how many people that have flown into this country from other countries that come over here on a visa, passport, or whatever, that have overstayed their welcome longer than what they're supposed to. And is there an all-out hunt to find where they are in this country? Think about that. But we have an immigration problem at the southern border. That's it. Let them tell it. Let them tell it. Crazy. 20 million viewers. 20 million viewers. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. The other day, when the January 6th Commission hearings first started, there were 20 million viewers United States wide. It could have been overseas too, but there was 20 million viewers total, is what they said. But in the United States of America, there are 332 million people as a population in the United States of America. So 22 million sounds like a lot of people to watch this. But what's going on with this hearing is affecting 332 million people. My math ain't mathing. My math is not mathing. Only 20 million people watched it. Now, it goes into the numbers. They tuned in to Thursday's primetime presentation about January 6th. It reached a far larger number through all manner of social and old school media. According to Nielsen estimates, 9 of the channels that carried the hearing averaged a combined 19 million viewers during the 2-hour hearing. This data doesn't count every TV channel, however, or most web streaming, so the true total is larger. President Biden's State of the Union address in March averaged 38 million viewers across 16 channels. Fox News carried Biden's address, and about 6.9 people watched it on Fox. But they didn't watch the hearing because Fox News chose not to show the hearings on Fox News channel. They showed it on the Fox Business channel. They showed it on some other little networks, but they chose to go with Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and Laura Ingraham, or whoever they are. They continued their lineup, their normal lineup. They came into what was going on with the hearings, but they never played the audio along with the hearing. They just showed pictures behind them. You know how they had a screen behind them. So Fox News, the main news channel for Fox News, didn't choose to show what was going on, but they had a lot of opinions about what was going on, but they didn't listen to what was going on. Think about that. They had opinions about what was going on, but they didn't listen to the facts of what was coming out in the committee to let you know what was going on. Tucker Carlson on that night averaged about 3.3 million viewers, which is an ordinary night for him. Notably, though, Carlson did not take any commercial breaks, which might have tempted some of his viewers to sample the hearing on the other channel. See, they were doing logistics here. They went to no commercials throughout his whole show, which is the sponsorship on that day. For the simple fact that just like you, just like me, just like everybody, what we do is we'll be watching something and then a commercial comes on, we'll flip to another channel until it comes back on. Then we go back. But they didn't want people to flip from what they were watching on Fox News and have the tendencies to go and watch what was going on with the hearings for themselves. Strategic. Purpose. On purpose. Just me, just an observation. You know. 5 million people watched the hearing on ABC, 3.6 million on NBC, and 3.4 million on CBS. More than 4.3 million watched on MSNBC, and more than 2.7 million watched on CNN, between 3 and 4 times the typical primetime audience for those channels. Fox Business Network, which offered hearing coverage instead of Fox News, netted barely 200,000 viewers. Newsmax had fewer than 150,000 viewers. Sharice Joseph, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate support. Gary Burns, no commercial era at that time. Nope, they didn't show no commercials. They weren't worrying about no revenue at that time because what they didn't want you to do is flip that damn channel. They didn't want you to flip the channel. They want you to stay watching what they wanted you to watch. And I hope everybody pays attention to these type of things and what's going on during these committee hearings. And now we're going to get into this. Because I sat and watched. Now, I don't know how many of y'all watched. I encouraged everyone to watch it that was in earshot of me, because I think it's very important that we pay attention to what's going on with these hearings to get a better understanding or some type of understanding what was going on this day of January 6th and leading up to. If we can, good morning, sis. Good morning. Appreciate the support. And leading up to January 6th, because this didn't just start. This wasn't just one day that they decided, oh, we're going to storm the Capitol or nothing like that. It just that wasn't that one day. Josh Boyd, what's up, my bro? Appreciate support. It wasn't just the one day. There was a lot of pre-planning and everything that went on, and they're going to get into all that. And I'm curious to see how it's all involved. But here's the thing. I found this quote, and I think it makes sense of what we're going to talk about with this. And the quote was by Abraham Lincoln. And it says, the ballot is stronger than the bullet. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. Now I'm going to start this off with this. We always talk about and we hear about voting rights in this country. The right to vote, the right to let your voice be heard, the right for the people, the will of the people to put a new president, senators, congressmen, whoever's going running for any political office at the state level, whatever. Your vote matters in this country, is what has always been said. And if you remember, we go back through history, at one time, women couldn't vote and people of color couldn't vote. Let's just be honest about it. It was only men that voted, white men. And now that we have the right to go out and go vote, let our voices be heard at the polls. If you've noticed through years, if you go back watching, the way you vote, how you vote, if you can vote, has all been put in this big muddy puddle to try to eliminate or minimize the impact of your vote. And what it shows is that there are people in the powers that be who don't feel that you, people that look like you and me, women, people who got here legally, should have the right to put in power who we think is best for this country. This insurrection on the Capitol, who they want to just call it a friendly walk in the park, a riot, or whatever they want, all the different labels you want to put on it. The insurrection on the Capitol, from what we heard the other day, there was a lot of logistical planning that went into play. And the logistical planning that went into play goes deeper than we even know. And I want to say this, I think this committee has only scratched the surface of what has gone on. And this, what happened January 6th, this that happened January 6th has been in the works and in progression longer than the administration of Donald Trump. That's just my opinion. You can't tell me otherwise. And you have to look back to the hanging chads in Florida with Bush and Gore. You have to pay attention to history to know what's coming forward. Sharice Joseph, it was all planned out. Too many in that group knew what was going down. Exactly. And we're going to get into that. But it just, if you paid attention to what was being presented. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who maybe, stand firm on the fact of they represent or they stand with the Republican Party. You do what you do. There's a lot of people that feel the same way about standing with the Democratic Party. Do what you do. At this time, when we talk about this committee hearing and what went on leading up to January 6th to overthrow the will of the people, everyone needs to stand in the middle. You don't have to look at yourself as a Democrat or a Republican. If you want to know the truth, you'll stand in the middle. And for all these people saying that this committee is illegitimate and all these different things you want to say, if you think this committee is illegitimate, then you need to go back and say the same thing about the Benghazi investigation. You need to say the same thing about the 9/11 commission. You need to say the same thing about all these other, because what has been done is people that are in the Congress and the Senate are the ones that sit on these committees to come to and find out what happened in anything that goes on. So if you're going to be mad about this one, you should be mad about all the ones in the past as well. But because it doesn't fit a certain narrative, they don't matter. They're not doing the right job. And as I mentioned in the viewership should tell you everything you need to know. When you have a channel, when you have a news channel, supposed news channel, let's just be real, because they don't call themselves journalists anyway. But when you have a channel in this United States of America that chooses not to show something this important for all the world to see and understand what happened leading up to and on the day of January 6th, that should already raise some red flags with you if you're thinking as an American citizen, not as a Democrat, not as a Republican, not as an independent, not anything to do with political party. It should raise red flags with you to say, wait a minute, why aren't they showing this? Why aren't they showing this? Because there's certain things and certain pockets of people that they don't want to get the information that they need to get to understand what happened on January 6th. They want them to understand and think that it was just something that was more blown out of proportion than anything else. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. And something I observed, and I'm gonna get into this, when they showed the video the other day, to see all those people storm the Capitol like that, in their, you know, it was just a riot type. Did you notice that of all the police officers out there and all the people that were protecting the Capitol at that time, not to take anything away from them, but if I recall, and y'all can help me with this, because I didn't see it. The only shots that were fired was the ones that shot and killed Ashley Abbott. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just saying, I watched all that video. I watched all the video they had, and I went back and I started reading some things. I don't recall any shots being fired other than that one that killed her when they told her to stop from coming through that window. So I say that to say this, and I don't want to mix apples and oranges, but I'm just going to say it this way. It is amazing to me how we can see police officers in that environment have such restraint from firing their weapon in a mass mob insurrection on the Capitol, and the patience they had to not draw the weapons and shoot, than it is for police officers when they pull over a person of color on the side of a road and shoot him sitting in his car. Now, you can say, I'm going off base with that or whatever, but I'm just saying law enforcement as a whole is what we're talking about when we talk about these things. I don't care if they're Capitol Police officers. I don't care if they're state troopers. I don't care if they're police on the streets in your city. But the restraint off the top is what jumped out at me. I'm sure other people noticed it. But the restraint of not to shoot anybody, because, hey, you don't know who else may have had a gun in that environment with the people that were doing the insurrection. But none of the police officers that I seen, and I didn't hear anything about anybody pop shooting any guns or shooting anybody other than the one, which was Ashley Babbitt, when they told her not to come through that window. Just something to think about, just something to ponder. I'm not gonna go off a little bit, but come on back. So let's get into this. In the beginning of this, Liz Cheney, who I have a newfound respect for because she's not looking at party. I didn't like her dad too much, Dick Cheney, but that's another story. But she said President Trump summoned the mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack. Donald Trump bears responsibility for the attack on the Capitol. Now, see, this is where a lot of people don't want to put him in the mix of being responsible for what happened. They were bad actors, how they always want to throw that out. Or why is there so much concentration on what happened at the Capitol and not as much concentration on what happened over the summer during the George Floyd protests and all that kind of stuff? But the main perpetrator, let's just be real, the main perpetrator of everything that went on was Donald Trump. It was the former president who summoned radical followers, lied to them, deployed them, and took satisfaction in their violence. As New York Times analysis added, those who saw the hearing were presented with an indictment of sorts, not just of a rogue president, but of a would-be autocrat willing to shred the Constitution to hang on to power at all costs. This is the first sitting president to ever not concede the election to the person who won. This is the first president who made up these stories about the election would be rigged if he didn't win. This is the president who said, the election was rigged. There was rampant fraud. There was all these different things that were going on during this election, and that's why he didn't win. But one thing that they said the other day that a lot of people, and I would hope that even those who support him listen to, and that was when they said that Donald Trump knew the truth about his election loss. He knew that there was no rampant election fraud. He knew that there was nothing wrong with voting machines in the manner that it would have overturned the election to go his way. He knew all these things in November when we went to vote. And he still chose to put this narrative out there that it was widespread fraud. He had over 60 cases fought in the court of law that he lost with Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, all these different lawyers he had went up there fighting and lying and telling all these lies and this propaganda about this rampant fraud, but they showed no evidence. They had no evidence to show that there was that much fraud in this election that it would have changed the outcome in his advantage. Case in point, why he got on the phone and called Georgia and said, I'm looking for 11,781 votes, one more than Joe Biden, in order for me to claim Georgia. Which is why there's an investigation on that as well. See, a lot of people get caught up in this on the Republican Party side, and I'm just going to call them out for a minute, that this election was stolen from Donald Trump because Donald Trump said it was stolen. Not because of the facts, not because of what Bill Barr, who told Donald Trump, and what we found out the other day in his deposition where he told Donald Trump is BS. I'm not going to say the words. Come on, mama, listen. She don't let me use those words. Hey, mom. But he told him it was BS. And I got that in here. Hold on. I'm going to jump around a little bit today, y'all, because this is an unscripted type of day. Bill Barr told him it was BS. Outright. But that was the DOJ. He was the Attorney General for the Department of Justice for this United States of America and told him that. And then this is where my problem comes in with Bill Barr. Bill Barr dealt with all the stuff that was going on before that. And then when he told him the election, there was no fraud or anything like that, he decided to resign. But you knew all the other nefarious things he was doing before, but that kept you on board. But then when the water started getting muddy in December, you're like, I got to go. All those enablers he had in that cabinet should be held accountable as well as Donald Trump. James Battle, Donald Trump said the same things when he ran against Hillary Clinton. It's been that constant. If you put doubt in people's minds who don't take the time to sit down and get the facts and read, then the propaganda you put out there will be taken as truth. It will be taken as truth. And then people get into this, oh, well, he's not a politician. We trust him. Do you? Donald Trump didn't do anything different in this election and while he was president than he has done in his businesses, which is why they're under investigation as well. But what throws me is how all these other politicians who are career politicians, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul, you can go down the line, who have been career politicians for this country and know how politics work and choose to side with someone like him. And then you have to ask yourself, if they side with him in all these lies that he's been told, because it's coming from him, how have they truly felt all these years? What have they been doing behind the scenes that never came to light? All those things start coming into play for me because I'm looking like, wait a minute, you ain't sat up there for 30-something years. And now all of a sudden, you're this way. It don't happen overnight. And it doesn't just happen because of the environment or the people you start hanging with. If it's in you, it's in you. So these things that have been going on now that are coming to light, they know. They've been doing this for a long time. That's why you can't get bills passed that affects everyone. That's why you can't get legislation that everyone is happy with. That's why you can't get this Gun Rights Act passed about military style weapons being on the street and an 18-year-old being able to go buy them, and you get this pushback from people who have been in politics for so long. But here's the thing, and I'm digressing for a minute, but y'all bear with me. You had what happened in Texas with the school. And then you had what happened in Buffalo, which everybody's forgotten about. Nobody wants to talk about Buffalo no more, but we'll talk about the school. Just an observation of mine. You call it what you want to call it. But you had those two incidents, and then you had the other one. It's been a couple over the last couple weeks. And then you had a man who went and was outside of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's house with the intent Listen to what I'm saying now, with the intent of killing him. And there's legislation on the books right now waiting to be passed to protect the Supreme Court justices at a different level than the protection they already get. Yeah, all those children killed to the point where they had to identify them. They had to identify them through DNA testing. You had a white supremacist walk into a superstore in a majority black neighborhood and shoot people point blank range with a machine gun, an AR-15. Let's just be real. And we're arguing back and forth about getting AR-15s off the street because AR-15 is the choice of most of these people who do these mass shootings. But you have one guy outside a Supreme Court justice's home, and now there's legislation to protect the Supreme Court justices at a different level. But you can't pass something that takes care of every and all United States citizens, from children all the way up to adult. Maybe it's just me. But when you have a problem doing that, it just tells me that the money coming into your campaign, the money coming into your pockets, how you got rich while you're in office, is coming from the lobbyists who stand for the NRA. Which is why you don't want to change legislation, why you don't want to write in the law who can buy and what you can't buy and what you need to take off the streets and all these different things. But then anytime these things come up about gun control, they always want to concentrate on gang violence in Chicago and LA and all these different places. But it's not an issue when these young black men in these gangs are out here killing each other. It's not an issue at that time because you won't go in and do what you got to do. But when one white kid goes in and shoots up a school or goes and shoots up a grocery store and somebody says we need to change the gun laws and everything like that, wait a minute, we're not going to take away people's rights now. We're not going to take their rights away because they stand firm on the amendments when it's beneficial for them to stand firm on it. But when we talk about the Voting Rights Act that they don't want to push through or they don't want to pass or they don't want to change, what they do is they know the people can vote, but what they want to do is change the congressional district so they can get their people into positions. Which is why I continue to tell you guys, pay attention to who you're voting in these offices when you go to the polls. Because there's another Marjorie Taylor Greene out there. There's another Matt Gaetz out there. There's another Lauren Boebert out there. There's a white supremacist running for office right now that you won't know about until he gets in office. There's a KKK member running for office right now that you won't know about until he gets in office. And so on, and so on, and so on. These things are happening right in front of our eyes, and what we don't do is do our due diligence to find out who these people are and what they stand for. And then we get something like this happens at the Capitol, where people's lives were threatened, which were the senators and the congressmen who write the legislation. And because they don't agree with Donald Trump, they were allowing these people, they were going to allow these people to go in there and cause harm to the Democratic side of the House, where it shouldn't matter whether they're Democrat or Republican. These are human beings. They are human beings who were elected into office to legislate, to pass laws. And because they don't agree with what color you wear, whether it's red or blue or you're Democrat or Republican, independent, or what, because they don't side with what you think should be done, you have no problem with them being killed. And let's go to the Mike Pence part of it. When you have a president of the United States who has a vice president who stood beside him the whole time he's been in office, and then when something like the insurrection happens and he's standing up there saying, well, maybe they should hang him, maybe they got the right idea because he's not doing what he should do to help me. Wait a minute now. I'm just going to ask this question, but shouldn't there be some type of attempted murder or something? Or an accessory to a conspiracy to commit murder? Because I watched enough Law and Order. I watched enough Law and Order to know how they be getting these people on this accessory to commit, accessory to the point, all the different things you can think. I laugh about it, but let's just be honest here. You have the president of the United States okay with the fact if something happens to his vice president during this insurrection, he deserved it because he didn't go and do what we wanted him to do as far as changing the will of the people. and he was okay with it. And it says here, as rioters launched their assault, the then president said his radicalized followers, the ones he lied to, were doing what they should be doing. When he was told of the hang Mike Pence chants, Trump responded, maybe our supporters have the right idea. Mike Pence deserves it. What's more missed in this is what it says is Trump didn't call any governmental office or agency to defend his own country's seat of government. Never called the National Guard like he lied and said, which now they're trying to flip it and say Nancy Pelosi was in charge of that, which he has no control over the National Guard. Let's just be real. Then there's an investigation that the Republicans are doing in conjunction with the committee saying that Nancy Pelosi turned down weeks in advance more protection for the Capitol. Sergeant at Arms and all these people that supposedly didn't do the job. They said there was a warning out that there was going to be this type of riot, insurrection at the Capitol. And she should have known about it, and she should have put more emphasis on the security. I'm going to say this. Y'all can agree. You don't have to agree. Good morning, King. Good morning, John Chaney. Appreciate the support, bro. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm going to say this. They want to put Nancy Pelosi in this blender of what she should have done and what Chuck Schumer should have done. Or Chuck Schumer was the minority leader. He wasn't even a majority leader, but they threw his name out there too. But they want to say that they did not do what they were supposed to do to protect the Capitol. Let me flip it for a minute. If Donald Trump and all his cronies were setting up the insurrection on the Capitol, then they didn't protect the Capitol because they knew what they were doing when they set it up. Just like they said in his speech when he told those people to march to the Capitol and fight like hell. His words, not mine. Sorry, Ma. I had to put that in there. But then to know through this videographer's eyes who was implanted with the Proud Boys that they left the speech on their lips before Donald Trump even spoke and started heading towards the Capitol and walking around the Capitol, casing the joint, leading up to what eventually turned into the insurrection. See, this Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, whatever you want to call it, KKK, white nationalists, white supremacists, all these different things who feel they have the right to do what they want to do. We're all in bed with the president of the United States and the people who surround him. No matter how you look at it. There were planning meetings, there were phone calls, there were text messages. You can't tell me that this doesn't go deep. Nothing that strategic is surface. None of it. And then you have, in these discussions, where the focus is now on the right-wing paramilitary organizations. There were multiple references last night to radical groups such as the Proud Boys, who investigators believe played a key role in the January 6th violence. An Associated Press report added, Thompson said Trump's call for people to come on January 6th energized members of the Proud Boys and the other extremist groups. They highlighted Trump's comment at a presidential debate that the Proud Boys should stand back and stand by. Everybody remembers that, don't you, at the debate? Stand back and stand by. The panel showed video testimony with a witness named Jeremy Bertino, a member of the Proud Boys, who said the group's membership tripled. The group membership tripled, probably after Trump's comment when he said stand back and stand by. James Battle, someone set a building on fire, it's not the building's fault. And then let's talk about these enablers. These people that are voted in the office to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States defense against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You can't uphold the oath that you took if you're one of the people who is an enemy of the state as a domestic terrorism or a domestic terror to what's going on in this country. You can't uphold an oath when you're the problem with the oath. Liz Cheney said, "Tonight, I say this to my Republican colleagues who are defending the indefensible. There will come a day when Donald Trump is gone, but your dishonor will remain." And something Benny Thompson said, and I don't want to go over this. I don't want to flash over. Benny Thompson reflected on the Republican members of Congress who defended Trump and the rioters. And this is what he said. He said, "I'm from a part of the country where people justify the actions of slavery, the Ku Klux Klan, and lynching. I'm reminded of that dark history as I hear voices today try to justify the actions of the insurrectionists." When you start sparking flames to get these people riled up, who feel that everyone that don't look like them is beneath them, that this white supremacy, white nationalism, white whatever, white power, or white not gentrification, but with the replacement theory and all these different things that they want to throw out there to make it seem like they're being eliminated. You have a powder keg just waiting for someone like Donald Trump to come in and be the fuse to light the fire under their, you know where I was going, for them to feel that they can go out and do whatever they want with no accountability. See, we go back, and I know I'm going all over the place today, but it's unscripted, so let's go here. We can go back to the days, and I've said this many times, and I'll continue saying it. When you start calling someone racist, I don't know a person's heart, but I know what your actions tell me. And there's been this big debate about whether Donald Trump is racist and everything. You had those black supporters, the black Republicans that supported him and everything he was doing, and they're out there, and they had the one in the front, all the different things you remember. But you can't tell me that you don't have some type of racial undertones in your system and in your beliefs, where you link up and use to your advantage people like the Proud Boys, who they say is infiltrated with all kind of nationalities, whatever. The Oath Keepers, the KKK, the white national, white supremacists. You can't tell me when you're speaking to them specifically about what you're trying to do and those little dog whistles, as they say, that you don't know what you're doing, that you don't have those racial tones within you trying to get across to them that you're right because you're white. No ifs, no ands about it. And I'll say this. I'm not saying that everyone who ever voted for Donald Trump, who supports Donald Trump, is racist. I'm not going to say that. Not going to say that. But John Cheney just sent it in and said it best. If you condone it, you own it. If you condone everything that this man's done, you own it. You own that. Thank you, John Cheney. You right on time with that one, brother. Shirley Diggs for me. Good morning. Good morning. I have a lot. Well, let me just put it this way. There's a lot of people that have served this country through the military, who have gone on battlefields in foreign countries to defend this country and the democracy of the country on the soil that they were on. If you've done that in your career and you still stand behind what this former president of the United States tried to do to this Constitution, this democracy, this country, and still continues to do to this day, let's just be real. My question would be, when you took the oath that you took, did you mean it? Did you believe it? Or is it one of those things that as long as you're on someone else's soil trying to impose your will on them over there, you don't have a problem following somebody who's trying to impose their will here, even though and in spite of what the Constitution, and as they always fall back on, what the forefathers' intent was for this country? I don't write this. I just speak it. Because at the end of the day, you can't tell me that when you deploy to these other countries under the orders of the president to defend another country because of NATO allies or whatever you want to call, You may not agree with it, but you went and did your job according to what the Constitution says we will do. And if you were idiot of people who were out there marching on this insurrection, being a part of this insurrection, cheering because of the way they treated the police and trying to go in there and kill congressmen and senators that they didn't agree with, if you have any semblance of being proud of what happened on January 6th, and you're a former military member, veteran in this country, you should be ashamed of your damn self. I said it. Because at the end of the day, you can't tell me that the oath of office that you took, the oath of office that he took, the oath of office that all of them up there who conspired with him to do this, the oath that you took is only relevant when you choose for it to be relevant. See, where we get caught up is that, we think United States of America, the most powerful country in the world, the most powerful country in the world, depending on how you look at it. But at the same time, being the most powerful country in the world, we got someone trying to overthrow what the government and what it's always stood for the test of time. But this one person who all these people choose to follow, who they choose to follow and support in doing this. There's really no explanation for you, in my opinion. So there's going to be 5 more hearings. I think the next one is on Tuesday, maybe Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember. But there's going to be a lot more things going on. Right now, there's been over 850 citizens have been criminally charged for the participation in the violence at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Many of these individuals testified that they came at the call and the behest of then President Trump. So why has Trump not been charged? Most of the participants were accused of lesser offenses such as trespassing and assault, while more than a dozen members of 2 right-wing groups are facing a more serious charge: seditious conspiracy. And let's go here for a minute. Seditious conspiracy. Will Donald Trump be charged with that? If the evidence plays out in the way that we're hearing it play out, will the Department of Justice, Merrick Garland, the Attorney General for the United States of America, will Donald Trump be charged with a seditious conspiracy? Because understand something. He was the mouthpiece for everything that went on. His lawyers were the ones putting up this fight to try to overturn the election. Seditious conspiracy trickles down because when you say conspiracy, that means you had the intent. You had the intent to overthrow the government, even though it didn't happen. I'm going to go back again. The person that was outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house was there with the intent on harming him. It didn't happen, but the intent is what got him arrested. The intent is what he'll be charged with. The intent is what will lock him up for many, many years behind bars. The intent of a seditious conspiracy lays at the feet of the President of the United States, who also had no problem with his vice president being killed if that's what it took. Let that marinate. He had no problem with them, because here's the thing, and I think people forget this. During all this time, when he asked the question and found out that Mike Pence was given different security and taken to a unknown location, and him and his family were rushed off somewhere and put in a different way, Donald Trump was pissed. He was pissed because as long as Mike Pence was alive, then the vote of the people was going to go as it was supposed to, not the way he wanted to. If Mike Pence was killed, let's just be here. If Mike Pence was killed during this insurrection, who's the next person in line? The Speaker of the Majority Speaker of the Senate, Mitch McConnell. Or it was the judicial branch. But it wouldn't have been Mike Pence. They had a plan, as I mentioned to you last week, where they were going to move Mike Pence out the way, come up with some excuse, and then put somebody else in there, if they would have got a hold of Mike Pence and killed him, just throw it out there, because that was the intent. And that was the intent. Then what? See, nobody wants to look at the big picture of if all these things would have came to fruition that they were trying to do, what would the United States of America look like right now? And as I said when it happened, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, this was a test run. It wasn't the first, and it won't be the last. It wasn't the first, and it won't be the last. What happened in Michigan was a precursor to what happened at the Capitol. What happened in Michigan was a precursor to what happened in the Capitol. Just put it out there. Just put it out there. You know, we as American citizens, and in spite of the fact that there's times where we as African American Black community, as a Black community, don't see where America loves us back at times. Let's just be honest. There's things that happen that cause us to feel that way. A lot of people don't understand it. Some people do. But in instances like this, when we see these things happen, we step back and we look at the big picture. And one of the big arguments that people bring up to say is this was President Obama that had done this type of thing while he was in office, or if the people who actually did the insurrection on that day were of Muslim descent or Muslim religion, or looked anything different than the ones that actually did it, shots would have been fired, investigations would have, people have been locked up, it wouldn't have taken this long, is what the synopsis is. Because what we know to be true is we don't get the benefit of the doubt in most cases. We have people serving time in jail right now that never even committed the crime that somebody said they did. Let's just be honest about it. But we as African American, the Black community, we see these things, and the reason we get upset and get so passionate about these things is because we know if we ever had the thought of doing anything like this, they would burn us at the stake, they would hang us. I mean, you can bring up all kinds of scenarios of what would happen to us if we chose to do something like this. And a lot of people out there listening will say, oh, there you go, making it a black and white issue. No, I'm bringing it up because this is what my life is about. This is what I understand to be true as a Black man. I've seen it too many times. Seditious conspiracy is what they call it. If it would been us, it would just been a sedition. It wouldn't have been a conspiracy. It would have been a sedition. We tried to overthrow the government. Remember when the Black Panthers went into the state capitol? I think it was up in Oakland years ago. Remember that? Read your history if you don't know nothing about it. Tell you everything you need to know. Richard Garwood, good morning, brother. Good morning. Appreciate the support. Pay attention to what these things are showing, with these trials, what's going on with these trials. Continue to pay attention. A lot of you don't want to hear it. A lot of you are tired of listening to it. You can be tired. I'm not telling you, as I always say, don't be consumed, be aware. Know what's going on in this country when it comes to the politics of what goes on in this country, because it's going to affect you one way or another. Whether you want to be involved or not, the trickle down is going to affect you. If you're not paying attention and you don't know what's going on, it's going to affect you even more, because you can prepare yourself if you already know. If you don't know, now you got to get prepared. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Let's go and get in this mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul. Year 2022 is enjoy every moment. 1,440 minutes a day. That's every moment you can appreciate for what it has to offer. And today's quote: your life is your message. Your life is your message. You know how we always talk about how people carry themselves, how they present themselves, who they portray themselves to be, and compared to who they truly are in their soul. Your life is your message. Now, we bring up the point of we shouldn't worry about what people think about us, how people feel about us, be yourself, and all that kind of thing. But there's always that thin line where you should be concerned to a certain extent on how people view you. Because how you live your life is the way your portrayal of who you are is going to be shown. In life, we all make mistakes. We all do things that are not of us. But we always find a way to recover from that thing. And sometimes we don't even go to the people that may have been affected by what we did, which is not always it's not always a need to do that. If you know you made a mistake, you need to deal with that with yourself. If you feel you want to apologize, you can, but there's nothing saying that you always have to go and apologize to those people that you may have hurt along your way. But how you live your life is the message that you portray to the world and to the people around you of who you truly are. What you say, how you treat people, how you go about your everyday life. If you look down on people, if you degrade people, you talk about people, all those things send a message of what your life is all about. Do you gain standing, I'll say, amongst other folks, or when you're around other folks, by talking down about folks that aren't there? You're sending a message. See, as I said a couple of weeks ago, sometimes you don't have to pay attention. You have to separate the message from the messenger. But a lot of times our message that we carry with us and how we live our life is the message that we portray about who we truly are. And when you evaluate who you are, when you look in that mirror and you ask yourself, what are you about? What do you stand on? What do you stand firm on? What are you about? What is your purpose? All those things are a personal thing that you need to figure out. But when you walk out that door and you put that message out there about who you are, what you stand on, and what you want people to see you as, your life is your message. Take heed to that. Take heed to that. And I say that because in this time of what I just talked about with this insurrection and different things like that, we all are going to be accountable for our actions on this earth one day. Everyone is going to be accountable for everything they've done on this earth one day. Hopefully later than sooner. Good morning, Vanigala. Good morning. But at the end of the day, what we do on this earth portrays the message about who we are and how we live our life. But when it's time to leave here, and you have to account for all the things you've done, the good, the bad, the ugly, that's when it all starts to make sense. It may not make sense now, but in the afterlife, it's going to make some sense to you. So I say that your life is your message, and I'll tell you this, and it's a song by the Williams brothers. You better clean up what you done messed up, even if you had to start your life all over again. And that's not the exact same words, but I'm just putting it in my tone right now. The words say, I got to clean up what I messed up. I'm starting my life over again. Yeah. Clean up what you messed up. Your life is your message. Don't leave here with that mess down here, knowing that you had time to correct those things. And as I said, you don't have to go to each individual person and let them know what you did wrong, anything like that. That's between you, your soul, and your God. Clean up what you messed up. Your life is your message. Don't leave a mess with your message. Let's go ahead and get out of here. We're going to wrap this up for today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Keep paying attention to these. Keep paying attention to this January 6th committee. There's going to be a lot of things going to come out. Some of the things you don't want to hear, go back and read up on it. Look at the video, rewatch it, whatever. But I say it because when things happen overseas, now I'll go back. I was in the Philippines when Marcos got evacuated. I didn't understand what a coup attempt was. I didn't understand what it was when a leader of a country has to evacuate a country because they want him dead. I didn't understand that at the time, but I was part of that. I was part of driving the bus with the people who were evacuating and moving them around and everything so they could get out of the country and go to Hawaii. Now that I understand it, I didn't understand the significance of what I was doing as a military member at that time, but I understand it now in the fact of looking at things in a broader view. See, we can always talk about the corruption and all these different things that go on around us, but at the end of the day, you have to pay attention to things. You have to pay attention to the things that are going on, because if you don't know what's going on, if you don't pay attention to what's going on, when these things are starting to affect everything about your life, your job, your livelihood, it shouldn't be a shock. You should see these things coming as they come. The high gas prices, inflation, everything. I'm going to say this. A lot of people don't agree with me on this. Thank you, Sharice Joseph. A lot of people don't agree with me on it, but here's my analysis of the high gas prices, the stock market, inflation, all the things going on down right now. And then I'm going to leave it at this. It's funny, and I'll say funny. I'm not going to say amazing, but it's funny to me how soon we have forgotten that we were in a pandemic for 2 years. Still got things going on that are trickling here and there. But the pandemic ran for about 2 years. And when I say the pandemic ran for, I'm talking about businesses being shut down, people not going to work, all the different things you can think of that affected us at the time. The effect it had on us as individuals is different across the board. It's across the board. Some people lost loved ones. All these things have happened over the last 2 years. Do you think, or do you not think, or did you not think long term that with everything that was going on during the pandemic, with the shutdown, people not going anywhere, people not vacationing, people not buying things, people not driving, all these different things, if those things aren't happening, the consumer is not buying things at that time for 2 years at the rate they were before the pandemic. Now we're coming out of the pandemic. Businesses are back open. People are moving out, moving around. People are going on vacations. People are doing all these different things. So in order for these businesses who already had a surplus before the pandemic, in order for them to recoup the money they lost during the pandemic, guess what they're going to do? They're going to increase gas prices. They're going to increase prices on groceries. They're going to increase prices on everything that we deal with in our daily life. Restaurants. If you go out to eat, prices on the restaurant menu that you used to go to before aren't the same. Yesterday's price is not today's price. So this inflation that they're talking about, the interest rates going up and all the gas, these are all things that people do in the economy to recover. If you're a business owner and you're pissed off about the gas prices, then lower the prices that you raised on the toilet paper and the food in your grocery store and all that. Lower the prices there, because you're just as guilty as the people with the gas. And the gas is just as guilty as people with the groceries. And the groceries just as guilty as people with the cars. It's a trickle-down effect. Everyone in business was affected for those 2 years. And you cannot tell me that all of them are not trying to recoup what they lost during that time. But they're recouping it from the general population of the United States of America, in spite of the fact that the heads of these companies are still getting six-figure paydays, bonuses. They're still getting their bonuses. They're still getting their quarterly bonuses, yearly bonuses, whatever they want to call it. They're still getting their bonuses in all this. But the consumer, who is us, are the ones suffering when we go to the gas pumps and have to put $70, $80 in a tank that you used to put $30, $40 in. The consumers are the ones going to the grocery store, and a steak that you used to buy for about $5 is now $9. Think it through. Think about these things. We got to be cognizant of the things that are going on around us, because here's the thing. Everyone on the Republican side, if you deal with the Republicans, or if you're a Republican or whatever, and I don't like to get in the political part, but everybody wants to point at the president of the United States. Everybody wants to continue to point the finger at the president of the United States. Why? Because during Donald Trump's time, the stock market was good and everything like that. But if you weren't investing in the stock market, it didn't affect you. People are still out here working on minimum wage, but the people that got money in the stock market are mad because they lost $3,000-$4,000. I understand that. But don't lose focus of the people who need just because you won't. Don't lose focus of the people who need just because you won't. Because you want your lifestyle, your 401k to keep prospering and all that. I understand that. But we're all suffering right now with these gas prices and everything. And stop pointing the finger at the president of the United States and start pointing the finger at the gas station that you go to. Start pointing the finger at the grocery store you walk into. Start pointing the finger at the businesses, the small businesses you used to frequent, that they raised their prices. Start pointing the fingers at them, because the need, supply, and demand has increased now that people are back out moving around freely. Stop. Do your research. Look at things from a different light and stop with this woe is me. I got to pay all this for gas. Well, you know what? We're paying this for gas because the big corporations are trying to recoup their losses over the last 2 years. And we're going to be here for a while. So get used to it. I'm not saying it's right. I would never say it's right. But we got to be cognizant of what's going on and stop feeding into this narrative that it's the people up here. Yeah, it's the people up here, the ones that own the business. Price gouging, all that, all these people that are out there getting these PPP loans and all that stuff, all these people that got these loans pocketed that money, and now they're still recouping off of you. They're still recouping off you. John Chaney, a man who used the word the same at 50 as he did at 20, has wasted 30 years of his life. Muhammad Ali. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. Shirley Diggs, say it again. I ain't gonna say no more today, Shirley. I'm sorry. I got on the soapbox there for a minute, y'all. But I just want y'all to understand something. I want your Big Al, my brother, what's going on? Enjoy that peace and tranquility out there, bro. Big Al, my 401k taking a beating, supply and demand, preach, little brother. It is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, we have to look at it. We are all suffering right now. And the complaining and all that is not going to make a damn bit of difference. But what we do have to understand is why it's happening. Don't just keep complaining about it. Dig in and research exactly what is going on. You can't change prices like that without a reason. The gas prices, come on. I remember before, while the pandemic was going on, there was no cars on the road. I drive from Nevada to California every Monday morning. I'm the only one out there. You come into Vegas, you go down the strip over those 2 years, nobody out there on the Las Vegas Strip. Think about that for a minute. Las Vegas Strip is empty. Do you think these casinos are going to open back up and everybody that walks in the casino is going to start winning like they were winning before the pandemic? Oh, no. But I don't want to stop y'all from coming to Las Vegas and putting money in them slot machines to keep my taxes down. You keep doing what you do. But all I'm telling you is don't plan on winning like you did before for a while. It's common sense. It's common sense. We got to be cognizant of these things and stop trying to just complain and all these. Look at the big picture. Is it hard? Yeah, it's hard. If you're making minimum wage, it's real hard. But if you're making minimum wage and you're suffering, well, let me rehash it this way. As my big brother, Big Al just said, his 401k is suffering right now. It's hitting him because your 401k is a retirement plan. For some folks, that's their retirement plan. Now, I want you to take that into account of what money you may lose in the 401k. And think about the ones out here making $7 to $8 to $10 an hour who are trying to take care of their family, and they got to get gas for their car, and they got to get groceries to eat, and they don't have a 401k to fall back on. It's affecting everybody. It's hitting some harder than others. But at the end of the day, we have to take into account why it's happening. Just want to put that out there. I know I went a little over today, but I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. I appreciate y'all listening every Saturday. Come back again next week. We're going to talk about what happened with this. And we're going to make some changes coming up. I'll let y'all know about that. Anniversary show, September. I haven't come up with a date, but I'm going to have a host come on, I'm just gonna be here that day and listen. And hopefully y'all call in and get some comments and everything like that. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. I love y'all, and I'll holler at y'all next week. And I'm out. Peace.